I graduated with a first class honors.
Wow.
In physics major and mathematics.
Yeah.
And I remember signing that letter of appointment on the 18th November 2004
Wow.
as a graduate assistant, and that is how my journey in academia started.
Hello, how are you doing? Barnabas here. I hope you're doing well. I'm happy to be here to bring you a video that most of you have been waiting for. I promised you to bring you someone who is an expert in matters education and teaching in Australia. And I'm so happy to bring you Albert today. He's a friend of mine for a couple of years, but it looks like we've been friends forever. And today I'm so excited, so please stay tuned. I'm going to introduce him shortly, and he's going to talk about matters to do with education. Those who are planning to come here to Australia to pursue their teaching career and live here, and students who are coming to do education and so on, and even other things that probably we didn't plan, but we'll talk about them later on. Welcome very much, Albert. I want you to introduce yourself to the people.
Okay, thank you so much, Barnabas. It's a pleasure for me to be part of this video this time, and I'm really excited that I'll get an opportunity to share my experience, share my journey, my background, and my experience in Australia, especially in the education sector, and also some aspects of engagement within the community. Now, my name is Albert Juma, and I was born in Kenya. I was raised there. Bit more of myself. I studied in Kenya until I did my master's in physics, and then I got a scholarship to study for my PhD in Germany. That is in Berlin, a very wonderful university called Free University Berlin. And after that, I traveled a few other countries where I worked and eventually ended up in Australia. So I'm happy to share some of those finer details even as we continue in this video. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Albert. I'm so excited. You know, we just talked about learning in Kenya, moving to study further education in Germany, and then you worked in other countries before you moved to Australia. So it's just going to be a very good time to get an experience of how you've traveled and how you've taken your career up to the time now you're in Australia. Yeah. Now, take us back to your early years of education, your primary, just a bit, your primary, high school, and then university. Where did you learn and what did you do?
My primary school years were back in Kakamega County, for those who know where that is, in the western part of Kenya, a school that is known as Shibinga W Primary School. So those who understand KCP education in the late 80s, that's a school that was on the news in the late 80s, those times. And after that, I went to a provincial school in Kakamega, that is Musingo High. That is an amazing school. And in my experience in that school, it actually just changed my life completely, because that's when I got just an inspiration to be able to study hard because of some of the teachers that taught me, especially I think I might use this opportunity to mention them.
Yeah, for sure, go
especially
ahead.
My favorite teacher was Mr. Kokonya. He was teaching us English and literature. My physics teacher, Mr. Akaka Shisoka, that was an amazing inspiration for me. And I ended up doing my bachelor's in Maseno University. And I graduated with a first class honors.
Wow.
In physics major and mathematics.
Yeah.
And because of that, I got an opportunity to pursue my master's degree at the same university, sponsored by the university. And so I got paid and studied, and I did my master's at Maseno University. And after that, I got an opportunity to go to Berlin.
All right. Before we go to Germany, I want to take you back to the high school.
Yeah.
You know, you've mentioned that the motivation that you got from your teachers, that's what made you to, start thinking there's something here. I might as well work so hard and get the necessary grade, go to Maseno and pursue this course and then you ended up getting a first class honors in physics and mathematics, which is not really an easy field to do.
Yeah.
Tell me, at the point where level where you're in high school, had you already known that you're going to do academia? Had you already known that you're going to be that good, or to pursue that kind of level in career?
Not really. I had no idea which pathway I'm going to take, simply because in my family, I was the first person to go to high school. So I didn't have like role models. I didn't have people like guiding me, telling me this is how things work. It was just more an intuitive thing, like thinking about, because I didn't have like people I knew who are working in big places to say, maybe I'm looking at this person, or when I finish school, I want to be like this person. I didn't have that. Mine was more looking back at my family and saying, I don't want to be like this. I want to have a better life, and because my parents didn't have education, so I wanted to be that person that can be successful in education to make my family proud. And I think that is what made me start to think about my education beyond high school. That was in Form 3. And I had a very good friend who actually was always a motivation and an encouragement. That is Jeremiah, who ended up to be my brother-in-law. So
good influence there, isn't it?
Yes. He was a really good inspiration and influence in my life, in the decisions that I made. We used to study together. He was really good in English and literature, and that was my weakest point. But the teacher was my best teacher. Like the teacher was teaching us English. But then just from those interactions we used to have, studying together in the evenings and having those just friendly conversations, I think there's more to life than just going to school. I think there should be something that I can do beyond school. And that's when I started thinking about my grades and my performance.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you do your high school and you performed well, and you got admission to do your bachelor's at Maseno.
Yeah.
At the point you're getting to Maseno, you still don't have a very clear, view of how your future is going to be.
Yeah.
At that point, did you know that you're going to be a lecturer? Did you know that you're going to be an academia?
No, not at all. Things just happened because when I joined university, first of all, my selection for university courses was at the top was actually like mechanical engineering. And I had some other courses in between there that I chose. But then because in my Form 4, most like second half of the year, I was actually sick. And in term 3, I was bedridden for a couple of weeks before just leading to the exam. So I didn't perform very well in my KCSE. I had a B plane, which was just enough to get me into the university. But then I wasn't called for the courses I wanted. I was called to do Bachelor of Science, which I didn't know anything about. So I just did it anyway. But because I was really good in mathematics, so I was like, okay, I'll go, and then I major in mathematics. But along the way, I realized that I was getting really good grades in physics and just average grades in mathematics. And then I think that's the time I started thinking, is it about what I like to do, or is it about how good my grades are? Then I thought, I think let me focus on getting good grades. And then after that, when I finish school, those grades can help me get into something. But I didn't know what. But there is one Professor Otieno from Maseno University. He's the one who had the biggest influence on me. And I remember some of the conversations that I had with him in my third year of uni. And he made a statement during one of the lectures. He was teaching us solid state physics. And he said, if you get a first class honors, we will sponsor you to do your master's degree. And we will pay you, you get a job here, and we support you to become one of the staff. And then I thought, that sounds interesting. And so one day I just stormed into his office and asked him, I was like, Prof, what did you mean like when you said this? And he asked me, do you think you're going to get it? And then at that point I was like, this is like a test of my faith. Then I was like, I think I can. So he told me, okay, if you get it, come and see me. And then at that point, my performance wasn't really like the highest, but I was among like the top 3 in my course in Bachelor of Science. So I started working seriously for my academics in my 3rd year at university. And that is when things changed, because when my 3rd year and 4th year was the best performance that I ever had. And that cumulatively ended up giving me a first-class honors, the only first-class honors in Bachelor of Science that year.
Wow.
And on the graduation day, I met him. I met Prof, and he asked me, did you do it? And I was like, yeah, I did it.
Wonderful. Wow.
Yeah.
We know you just talked about how the Prof gave you a promise.
Yeah.
And that really shaped your motivation to get the achieved grades.
Yes.
Well, I'm a faith person, and it just when you're speaking, I'm just thinking about some two stories in the Bible.
Yeah.
The story of David just before he killed Goliath.
Yeah.
Is,
Gideon.
Gideon, yes,
Yes,
Gideon. It occurred the same thing. You know, it was told, if you do this is going to be the results. This is what you're going to earn.
Yeah.
And that really, I think, motivated them. I was just thinking about that. That's just out of the story. Now,
Yeah.
now you've graduated. You've been promised a job.
Yeah.
So what happens after that?
So when I met Prof on the graduation day, he told me, you go enjoy your celebration. After everything has cooled down, come and see me. We have a chat. So after that, after the graduation the following year, I was back in the village, and I was teaching at a village school. And later on that year, around in November of that year, that was 2004, he called me and asked me to see him. So the day he wanted me to see him, I wasn't available, so I told him I'd see him the following day. So when I went, he wasn't in the office, the secretary was there, and what the secretary did was to give me a letter of appointment.
Ooh.
Yes. And I remember signing that letter of appointment on the 18th November 2004.
Wow.
As a graduate assistant, and that is how my journey in academia started.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah. You've been promised, and straight away you didn't have to wait, you know.
Yeah.
Apart from, different from those who probably graduated, they go back and start. Where do we begin from?
Yeah.
But you had a clear vision. You've achieved that. You come back, and straight away you start teaching.
Yeah.
And start as a graduate assistant.
Yes.
Now, how long did you work at university?
So I was at Maseno University until mid 2010, because I did my master's degree. I was supervised by the same Professor Otieno, and he was my second supervisor. My first supervisor was Professor Odwor, Andrew Odwor, another amazing person. And so towards the end of my master's degree, that was 2007, we had just gotten our firstborn daughter, Purity, in August of that year. And the following week after her being born, there was a conference in JKUAT, Jomo Kenyatta University of Science and Technology. There was collaboration between Berlin universities and Nairobi universities. And so I went for that conference, and actually it's my wife who actually encouraged me to go, because I thought, we just got a baby, she's like 3 days old, they have not even come, they have just come from the hospital, and I've got this workshop. It was a 2-week workshop. And so I eventually went for those 2 weeks, and that is how I met the person who became my PhD supervisor. and I was still at Maseno University during that time. Yeah.
So while you're doing your, while you just began working,
Yeah.
you enrolled for your master's immediately.
Yeah, that was
Masters
part
in-
of the contract.
Contract.
Yeah, so a 2-year contract, graduate assistant, on condition that you do your masters.
Yes.
Because that was one of the ways that universities in Kenya would develop staff for the university.
Okay.
So you encourage the young people so that they can get incentivized to pursue a master's, eventually a PhD, and be part of the teaching staff. Yeah.
So you've gone for this conference and meet your supervisor.
Yeah.
At this moment, what you've not graduated with your master's, right?
Not yet. I was doing my thesis.
Your thesis.
Yeah.
And then out of nowhere, you talked with this supervisor and they promised you that you can come and do your PhD, or what happened?
Actually, what happened was I had some questions, and because of also limitations that we had at the Maseno University, it was still a young university, I wasn't able to get some specific publications that are linked to my thesis, because I needed to cite some recent work in my field, but there was a limitation. So I discussed with this professor, is Thomas Dietrich, and Thomas was really helpful. He answered all my questions, and he told me, stay in touch. If you need any publications, you need any work, just send me an email. I will get them for you from our subscriptions. And so I did that. I would email him, ask him some questions when I'm stuck with my data analysis. And when I finished, he asked me, would you want to come and do your PhD in Germany? And I was like, okay, why not?
That's the power of networking right there.
Exactly.
Okay. So you finished your master's, and he invites you to come and do your PhD.
Yes.
What happens when you finish your master's?
Yeah.
And you want to do your PhD? You identify a topic, right?
Yes.
So did he help you identify that, or you already had some way to do that?
He did help me, because what happened is when I finished my master's, I enrolled for a PhD at Maseno University, because that was also like the next step from a graduate assistant. Next to be a tutorial fellow, which is a requirement that you do a PhD. So in that intervening time, I was in conversation with Thomas, and so he told me about the work they were doing. So he sent me their publications, their recent publications. He told me, go through these publications. This is what we have been working on, and I would like you to focus on this particular area. So that is how we worked together to develop my PhD topic. Yeah.
So it's a big faith. You're in Kenya, you've just finished your master's, you're just about to go to a higher, job level for a tutorial fellow. Yeah. And then you want to move to Germany, where you're going to be taught in German language. How does that, in your mind, does all this add up? You just walk by faith? You just wanted to go?
I wasn't even thinking about the obstacles. I was thinking about the opportunities.
Yes.
So I was like, yeah, this is an opportunity I never thought of. It has come my way, so this is God sent. So why not grab it? Because the other alternative would have been to stay. And this is an opportunity for me to explore the world, for me to travel, an opportunity for me to see like new culture and new environment. So I just took it. And also because he was really very supportive at every stage. When I developed my my proposal, because you need that, and he helped me to get a scholarship from DAAD. So he supported me through that process, and because he had supervised other students before me through the same program, it was easier for me to get that scholarship.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
So off you go. Which year is this? And
June 2010.
So you just June 2010.
Yeah.
You go to Germany.
Yes.
And you begin a new life there. How was it like?
It was. There's a lot of stories about that, because the first surprise was because June in the northern hemisphere, that is the mid-summer. And so I remember we landed, there were three of us, three Kenyan PhD students. We landed on a Sunday, and we were surprised because there are no people around. There were no people in the streets, and we really wondered why. And then only later on to realize it was actually late in the night, but because it's midsummer, the sun is still up at around 10 p.m.
Yes.
We are still in the streets because for us, we are like, okay, if you look at the position of the sun, this is around maybe 5 p.m.
Yeah.
And I think that's how I ended up buying my first watch because I couldn't tell time just by looking at the way the sun is, because in Kenya, we are right on the equator.
Yes.
It's easy to tell the time actually very precisely, even without a watch.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, so that's how I ended up buying my first watch.
All right.
And also the other thing I remember was how to pronounce some words. Like I think I remember there's a street where my school, the language school was, and the way they write in German, the letter double S is sort of like the Greek letter beta. So it looks like a bee with a tail. So when you read the word street is Strasse. And for me, I used to call it Strabe. And when I learned later on when I was in the German language classes, I really laughed at myself. But that's one thing I still remember to date.
All right.
Yeah.
So you go there, settle, and start your PhD.
Yeah.
At that moment, are you still employed by the University of Maseno?
Yes.
Okay, so Maseno still pays you.
Yeah.
And at the other school, are you in any way, working there, or you're just a student?
No, so because I was on a scholarship and I was doing my research in a research institute, not at the university.
Yes.
So at the research institute, I was paid a stipend through the scholarship I got, and that is how I met my subsistence. My family also joined me there, and most of the time I just spent at the research institute. Yeah, so morning up to evening, and then from there go back home.
So back home, your wife Esther is with a little girl. While
we had a second one just
before you moved.
Yes.
So your wife has two kids back home.
Yeah.
Is she working at this moment, or what is happening?
She wasn't working because for her, she was really committed to raising the kids, because for her, it was very important to give children that foundation. So she said she wasn't working until the kids are a certain age. So that is what she committed to do, like to raise the kids, to give the kids a good foundation. And I really respect her for that. Yeah, so she had to sacrifice all other things just to focus and make sure the kids have a good foundation. Yeah.
So you continue to study.
Yeah.
At what point, is it the first year or second year, did your family join you in Germany?
Right at the beginning of the first year, because we had like 3 months language course. So when the language school ended, that is the date that we had planned for them to arrive, just on 1st October.
So after 3 months, your family joined you.
Yeah.
And here you are, you're a student.
Yeah.
Your wife at that moment is not working.
No.
Are you comfortable? Are you, with the new environment? How is it taking you with your family? And then how did the kids start school? Just briefly, because I know it could take a long time.
Yeah, it can take a whole day. So, so it was really not difficult because we managed to get some friends. There's a lady who was also doing a PhD at my institute. She really supported us to settle down and also just to know where to go, what to do. And we also ended up in a church, that is Berlin International Community Church.
Yeah.
And being in that community and also being introduced to the Kenyan community in Berlin, that was really helpful for us just to settle down, know where to buy stuff, know how to enroll the children in the kindergarten. And that's when I learned that kindergarten is actually not an English word, it's a German word. So
I'm learning that today.
It's a German word, it's not English at all. It's a German word.
What does it mean?
Children's garden.
Is it?
Yes.
I'm
it's a
learning
children's
that
garden.
today.
So, yeah.
Okay.
So we had that, and so the dad's scholarship is actually one of the prestigious scholarships you can get because they support a family. So your spouse gets a certain allowance. You also have allowance for each child. So cumulatively, it's good enough to support you with a family.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was much easier for us to not work and still be supported to meet all our bills. So that combination, and also just building a community of students around ourselves, that was very supportive, and we didn't feel any pressure of being away from home or being in a foreign country. And also Berlin, because it's cosmopolitan, it's very multicultural. So it was easy to get along in just using English. Yeah. But friends who are in other smaller cities, they had to learn their German. They ended up being very good in German. I didn't get that good.
Well, you've spoken a little bit about your community, getting integrated in the community, the church, what the role the church played, the Kenyan community, the other African or other communities around you that really helped you and your family.
A lot.
And I will speak about that. We will speak about that much later on when we come to your involvement with the community here in Australia, in Melbourne specifically. But now you're in Germany. How long did you take to finish your PhD? And after that, did you want to stay in Germany? Then what happened? Did you want to stay in Germany, or then what made you leave Germany?
So my PhD took exactly 3 years and 1 month. Yeah, which was really impressive because normally it would take like 4 years, or depending on the circumstances.
Okay.
But that is because of the kind of supervisor I had. That guy, I owe him a lot. He supported me in so many ways compared to when I would talk to other students. I was like, nah, I'm really lucky to get him as my supervisor. So that is how I managed to finish within that time. And then he extended my scholarship a little bit by a few more months so that I can finish up some of the publications that we had already started. So I stayed up to the following year, mid-March. And during that time, I was basically finishing up with some of the data that wasn't included in my thesis and finishing up with some publications and also applying for jobs. I really, really wanted to stay in Germany. Yeah, given an opportunity, I wouldn't mind.
German government, come for your guy.
Yeah, I really like it because I like the way they do stuff.
Yeah.
What you see is what you get. They're very straight and everything is really straightforward. The only limitation we had was we were not really very good in the language, but we had friends who could help us with understanding some documentation and some processes. Yeah, but that was really good. And I think there is one professor I talked to because he had a PhD postdoc position. I went to him and talked to him and asked him if he could give me the opportunity, but he told me, yeah, I've got the opportunity, but I'm not giving it to you. Like straight to my face. And then he said, it's good for you to have an experience elsewhere. You've studied here for you to be a well-rounded scientist and to be able to extend your perspectives and your views. It's good for you to work in a different environment. Now you can see that either as being very selfish or being too hard and unfair, or see it as an advice for you to explore other options. So that is how I looked at it. Yeah, and then my supervisor introduced me to another lady from Estonia, and this ended up to be one of my best moments in Europe. And that's how I got the position I had in Estonia the following year. So
you moved from Germany to Estonia.
Yeah.
What position and how did you end up there?
So I was there as a research scientist. And so this lady I met, we discussed, I explained to her my thesis, what I had done, and then when they were talking to my supervisor was like, oh, so what do you think? He was like, no, I like this guy. So they had a position which was like a short-term position and just wanted someone to come and help complete one of their projects. And her name is Male Krunks. She's now a professor at Tallinn University of Technology. Very, very, very nice person. So when she took me to supervise me together with another professor there and Professor Arvo, they held me like, I felt like I was home. And
In Estonia?
Yes. They took care of me. Like over the weekends, they would take me to visit places, take me to the woods and gave me someone to show me around. And the collaboration in the lab, and I also supervised some master students. It was really beautiful. Yes.
At this time you're in Estonia, where is your family?
My family was back in Kenya.
Okay.
Yeah, so after we finished in Germany, March 2014, we went back to Kenya.
Yes.
And at that point, my contract at Maseno University had ended, and the vice chancellor, who was there at that time, was reserved my comment.
Yes.
Yeah, so he had put in some new rules that were not favorable.
Okay.
So for me to get back, I had to apply again, afresh. And this other professor, Male, was waiting for me to say yes or no to the position I had.
So it was easier choice for you, really.
Yeah. Because I had a position waiting for me.
Yeah.
So I just said, I'm ready. And then on 1st May, I was reporting in Tallinn, Estonia.
How long did you take in Estonia?
8 months. The challenge was because they speak Russian and Estonian, so language barrier, though in the lab we are speaking English.
Yeah.
But then also I didn't see how my family would thrive.
In Estonia?
Yes.
Is it a big country?
It's a small country, but the way they do their stuff is exceptional. It's exceptional. The way systems work, most of the things digitalized, it was just a new level. I had not seen things organized that way. That was the first time I actually had a digital signature that you could sign documents electronically, and all this encrypted and secure, and their electronic system, their IT system is just exceptional.
Wow.
Yeah.
So for 8 months you stay in Estonia, your family is back at home?
Yeah.
Are you missing them? What's this?
I'm missing them a lot, and I think I visited twice.
Within the 8 months?
Yes.
Oh.
But the second one was because I lost my younger brother.
Okay.
So I had to visit for the funeral. And then at that time I'm thinking, do I want to stay here for long? They actually had to increase my pay, enroll me in another program, like a lot of support. And I was like, wow, these people really value their staff. But then I was looking at way beyond that time. Yeah. So it was more about the welfare of the long term, and also about my family. That's the only reason I had to look for somewhere else. Otherwise, I really enjoyed my work in Estonia.
So while in Estonia, the 8 months is ending, have you applied somewhere else? And how did you end up somewhere else?
Yeah, so I was actually applying places, and they had actually just renewed my contract for the following year when I got a position as a lecturer in Botswana. So there's a new university, Botswana International University of Science and Technology, a very long name. And I read about it, I read the vision and the purpose, how it was looking at. It was just exactly something that I had been looking for. A university in Africa focused on STEM area like technology, science, and they had a lot of funding for research and stuff like that. And so I applied and I got the job. Yeah.
Wow. So you've been from Kenya to Germany, three years. You moved to Estonia for 8 months, nearly 1 year. Yeah. Then you moved to Botswana.
Yeah, in 2015 I was in Botswana.
You came back to Kenya, and then 2015 you moved with your entire family this time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how was it in Botswana?
Botswana was nice. we actually, even now, we still talk about our time in Botswana.
How many years later?
It was
20
like 2.5 years. Oh, since we left.
Since 2015, did you say 2015?
We arrived 2015.
So 10 years down the line, you're still talking about Botswana. It must have been a very good place.
It was good. And the reason it was good, I think, also because of the community we were in. Because we love community. So when we are somewhere, we want to build a community around us because that is usually a good support system. It's good for just one's well-being.
Yes.
And so we had a very good church we were attending to. We had a very good community around us of expatriates.
Yes.
Most of our friends' circle were doctors from Congo, Congo Zaire. So we had a really big community around us. And we also met some Kenyan community. There was a couple who were Kenyans. They were teachers there. They formed part of our network and part of our community. And yeah, it was nice.